and welcome to the Made for Business show where Catholic moms come to learn how to create financial freedom for their families. I'm your host, Sterling Jakewith, and today on episode 8, we're talking about marriage and business. And these two things go together for all of my clients, and I think some of them are surprised how often marriage might come up in our work together. And I know my one-on-one clients are listening and they're like, oh, she's talking about me. But it's all of you. So I promise it's not just you, but this does come up. And the reason why is because when we are married in the two become one flesh way, that means our spouses are involved in our businesses. And it takes both people to run the business smoothly. Right? A little bit your husband has to be on board, and there's a certain amount of coordination and sometimes childcare and sometimes emotional support and sometimes financial support that both of us have to talk about and agree on. And it's a moving target because in the beginning, nobody knows what the business is going to be. And we can have hopes and dreams and we can get excited about numbers on paper, but that's different than when you say, okay, I need you to watch the kids for 4 hours Saturday morning, or I need a lot of money to invest in this part of my business. There are these moments where, as a couple, we're like, ooh, this thing's getting real. Now, there are some fun moments too where we're like, oh my goodness, you made so much money this month, right? But oftentimes, we're having to work things out logistically along the way. And so I want you to just be prepared for that. Be prepared that when you decide to start a business or when you decide to take your business seriously, right? We move from that jobby level to being the CEO of our business and really trying to go for 6 figures and growing it, that you're going to have marriage conversations. You're going to talk to your husband about how much time you're spending on the business. And listen, he doesn't know what you're doing, right? When you're sitting at your computer and you're looking at Facebook, it looks the same to him as when you're sitting at your computer and you're researching something for your business. He just knows you're on the computer or on your phone or in your office, right? And especially when we're building our businesses and they aren't making a lot of money, of course he's going to ask himself, is this really worth it? Because my wife is in that room a lot, or she's heads down a lot. And he loves you so much and he does believe in you. But it's okay for him to ask those questions. It's completely normal, right? It would be the same if he asked you to do something. Let's say he wanted to start a company in the garage and the idea sounded pretty good and you thought he could do it, but he just started disappearing for several hours at a time. You too would wonder, hey, what are you doing in there? It's not making a lot of money yet. And he'd be like, I know, I'm doing this and it's going to make money. And then he comes back and he asks, hey, can we invest in my business? And you're like, I don't know. You just seem really busy a lot. And it doesn't seem like it's making a lot of money. Should we invest in your business? So sometimes, because often we feel like our business becomes who we are, it is so easy to have our identity wrapped up in our work that when our husband questions us about time or money or childcare, the thought that often comes up is, you don't believe in me or you don't support me, right? Even though, as you hear me say this, you're like, yes, I guess all of those questions that he's been asking me are pretty reasonable. They are reasonable. But when we feel like we are the same as the business, when we feel like the business is me, and he says, I don't know if we should invest in that, you might think, he doesn't believe in me. He doesn't want to invest in me. And then we will feel hurt and we will lash out. We will be defensive. We will get upset. We might even put him down. We might say, well, I'm only doing this because you're not making enough money. Just like maybe not the best way that we could respond. Right? But just notice when you react like that, when you react either, lashing out and defensively or withdrawing and feeling really hurt, it is probably because you are associating your business with yourself. And so then when he questions the business, you feel like he's questioning you. Maybe he doesn't love me. Maybe he doesn't believe in me. Maybe he doesn't support me. right? And so I want you to just take this in, take a deep breath. Even though I'm a mindset coach and this is my job and I coach on this a lot, I still have moments like that. I still have moments when my husband asks me questions and I get defensive. But I know now, sometimes I catch it in the moment, sometimes it's a couple hours later, sometimes it's the next day, where I'll be like, oh, I thought he didn't love me. I thought his asking me questions meant he didn't love me or he didn't believe me or he didn't support me. I feel like those are the three ways we say it, but it all kind of feels similar. And then I just, from that place, when I'm calmed down and I'm not hurt and I'm not defensive, I ask myself, were those good questions? What was reasonable about his question? Should I be asking those questions? Because the truth is, most of the time we're growing a business, we don't know what's going to happen. We are kind of making it up. We don't know how much money we're going to make next year. We are going to invest in things that are going to be fantastic, and we are going to invest in things that may not give us a financial return, but they were a learning opportunity. So I don't want to say that it was a mistake. Like, let's say you hire someone to do Facebook ads for you, and you pay them, $2,000 to set up your Facebook account, and then 25% of your ad spend, right? So if you're spending $1,000, you would spend an additional $250 to pay this person. And you end up spending $4,000 and you only make like $500 in your business. You're going to be tempted to say that was a failure, that was a flop, it was a mistake, it was a bad investment. But you came away knowing, hey, those ads didn't work, or that wasn't my person, or my funnel wasn't dialed in. Maybe your opt-in wasn't very interesting, or maybe you didn't sell hard enough through your email sequence. You did learn something. You paid $4,000 to learn something. Okay, but then if that's happened, and the next time you want to spend $4,000, especially in those early days when your business isn't making tons of money, and either you're borrowing family money to grow your business or you're spending all the money that comes in from the business back into the business to grow it. And I think those are good strategies sometimes. I've done both of those things, right? I've sometimes borrowed our money to grow my business, and then sometimes I've spent all the money in my business. And then now my business pays me money and handles our investments. And so let's say back to the Facebook scenario, we spent the $4,000 on Facebook ads and it didn't have the return that you were hoping for. Now we're going back to the husband to ask for something else. And he goes, well, I don't know. I'm a little unsure about this next investment. Again, if it feels like that, like he punched you in the stomach or like someone broke up with you and your heart feels sad, just notice that you are identifying as your business. Or you are thinking that his questioning the money means he doesn't believe in you. Instead, you could just say, yeah, it's totally reasonable for a person who just saw me spend $4,000 and I kind of didn't know what I was doing and it was a learning opportunity for me, is questioning my next decision. It's totally reasonable. Right? Now, I still may say, I think this is a good step for my business. Here's why. Here's what I think. And you know what? I don't totally know. Right? I'm just super honest with my husband about that now. Like, I don't know. I want to be in this mastermind. It's a big investment. I think it's going to be worth it. But I couldn't know. And we don't even really know at the end of a big investment, something like coaching or a mastermind. When we invest in those things, we never know how our business would have done without them. So I'm always confident, like, wow, that was great. And it helped me. But I could never say how much it helped me. I could never say, well, I would have made X dollars without that mastermind. And with that mastermind, I made precisely this many more dollars. So I got this return on my investment. We can't know that. And so it's good to just be really honest. Hey, is our family committed to this business? We're just going to try some things out. We don't know which things are going to work. Is that okay? How much risk are we willing to take? But when you believe that your husband loves you and he believes in you running this business and he supports you, you can have that conversation about money or childcare or time from a much more calm place. And when you are calm, you will be a much better problem solver. You will be able to work with him and ask good questions and answer his questions and not be emotionally spun up when he says, hey, you've been in your office a lot. Do you really need to be working that much? And I promise you, your body is going to be like, oh, I want to be defensive about that. Just take a deep breath and be like, what if that's a totally reasonable question? And you can say, you know what? I've been creating this product right now, but maybe I have been taking 10% more time than I need to. Maybe I could tighten it up a little bit. I always find truth in what my husband says, right? Because none of us are working at 100% capacity, completely focused all the time we're on our computer or our phones, right? And I don't think that that's a reasonable expectation. And so when my husband says, hey, it seems like you've been working a lot, is that really necessary? If I'm calm and present, I can be like, you know what? Yeah, I probably have been staring at our budget a little bit more than I need to. I like doing that, right? I like opening up my Excel spreadsheets and looking at the numbers. But I could look at them for 20 minutes and not really do anything. And I'm just looking at it and thinking about my business. And so when he comes and says, hey, I think you're spending too much time, I can tighten some of those things up. But I can also say, you know what? I didn't communicate to you that I'm creating this amazing workbook right now and it's a one-time thing. So I am working a little bit more right now because I'm creating this amazing asset and it's almost done. Right? And then he'll go, oh, great. That sounds exciting. But again, when we operate from the place that we think that they don't believe in us and they don't support us and they don't love us, it's funny how that gets tied up in there. Well, you must not love me. And of course we know that they love us, right? But our brains are very dramatic and they throw fits about things. And it feels like it's the same sometimes. But when you start a business, whether we like it or not, we're running that business with our husbands because we are married and we run the household together. And so it is important that we learn how to talk about the business calmly. Again, we are not going to get it right every time. But you're going to remember this. And when he asks you questions, I want you to pause and go, where's the truth in what he is saying? How is that a very reasonable question? Now, I will tell you that there are some people who have husbands that don't really think they're going to do a good job. And maybe it's true. Maybe the husband isn't really supportive. That doesn't mean that you can't grow a business, right? You can grow a business. You can just say, I'm going to prove it. I'm going to manage my time so well. I'm going to find the time. I'm going to find the resources. I'm going to grow the business. We don't need him to believe in us to grow our business. But I have not encountered that a ton. That is a minority situation where women's husbands don't support them. I'm going to say all of my one-on-one clients at least have very supportive husbands, but then we just have these messy conversations. And we want to say hey, this is my business. Don't stick your nose in it. You don't get to decide. But at the same time, your time and who's watching the kids and who's making dinner and how we invest the money is a little bit his business. So it is fair for him to ask those questions. Right? And you can still say calmly, you know what? I'm going to make these decisions about my business. Is that okay? I'm going to make the money and then I'm going to spend the money on what I think I want to spend the money. And if you guys agree on that, great. There's lots of ways that couples run a business, either together or one person running the business and the other person's just emotionally supportive. But all too often, husbands check in on us because they love us. They want to make sure we're not stressed. And they ask us questions And our brains think he doesn't love me, he doesn't believe in me, he doesn't support me. And I'll tell you, at the end of the day, we think that because we kind of doubt that about ourselves. There are a lot of moments where we don't love ourselves and treat ourselves with kindness, where we don't believe in ourselves. And we have that inner mean girl voice that says, you're a screw up, you're never going to make it. And we don't support ourselves. We do dink around doing things that we shouldn't be doing. We do eat food that doesn't help us. We do stay up too late so that we don't take care of our bodies and our brains to do good work the next day. Anytime we accuse someone else of something, it is usually because we believe that about ourselves. So when you say, you don't support my business, there will be a small part of you that believes that you don't support your business. And when we see it reflected in our husbands, and guys, husbands, they're just giant mirrors. It's really hurtful. So when we operate from the belief, my husband loves me, so much evidence of that. My husband believes in me. Mama, he does. He believes in you and your business. And he supports you. We could make a long list of ways that he supports you. Then we can have a calm conversation about his pretty reasonable questions. And that is a much lovelier way to run a business and be happily married. All right, you guys, I hope that is helpful. When we start businesses, whether we like it or not, the husbands are involved. Let's make it more peaceful and more lovely for them to be on this journey with us. And in the end, that will serve us as well. If we want to be saints, let's try to exhibit those fruits of the Holy Spirit: peace, joy, gentleness, love, self-control. All right, you guys, I'm praying for you. Get to work and have a blessed day.